Lesson 24. Surface area of solids. Lesson objectives, content objectives. Students will be able to use two-dimensional formulas to calculate surface areas of cubes and right prisms. Language objectives. I can read to understand that the surface area of a three-dimensional figure is the sum of the areas of its faces. I can explain how to find the surface area of a right triangular prism using mathematically precise language. I can describe the bases and faces of a complex solid using terms such as dimensions, base, height, length, and width. I can discuss methods of checking answers for reasonableness by listening and responding to a partner's statement. Prerequisite skills. Recognize right prisms and identify them from their base. Find the area of triangles, quadrilaterals, and regular polygons. Multiply positive integers, fractions, and decimals. And there is no new vocabulary. Learning progression. In grade 6, students represent three-dimensional figures using nets made up of rectangles and triangles, and use the nets to find the surface area of these figures. Earlier in grade 7, students continued their work from grade 6, solving real-world and mathematical problems involving surface area of two- and three-dimensional objects composed of triangles, quadrilaterals, polygons, cubes, and right prisms. In this lesson, students use formulas and write equations to calculate the areas of rectangles and triangles that comprise the three-dimensional figures. In grade 8, students expand on these concepts and apply them to cylinders, cones, and spheres. Composition and decomposition of shapes continues to be used throughout geometry from grade 6 to high school and beyond as students become more sophisticated in applying strategies and formulas for areas and volumes to the solution of real-world and mathematical problems. Use what you know. In grade 6, you learn to use nets to represent rectangular prisms. In this lesson, you will learn to find the surface area of a rectangular prism and other right prisms. Find the surface area of the building block in Ben's construction set shown below. If you can already solve that, why don't you pause the video and solve it, and when you continue the video, obviously you'll see the answers and you can check to see if you got it right. Now remember, volume, lesson before, lesson 23, was about finding the amount of space inside a three-dimensional figure. We were dealing with prisms. Surface area is on the surface of a three-dimensional shape. Okay, so think about that. Use the math you already know to solve the problem. Question A. How many faces does the block have? What shape are the faces? And again, let me go back for a sec. How many faces does this have? And what shape are they? Draw the top and bottom faces and label the dimensions. Draw the front and back faces of the block and label their dimensions. Draw the side faces and label their dimensions. And how could you find the surface area of the block? All right. If you can solve the first 4 questions, A, B, C, and D, E should be somewhat explanatory. Pause this video. Try to solve those questions. And once you do, unpause the video and check your answers. Let's look at question A. How many faces does the block have? And the answer is 6, and all the faces are rectangles, right? 6. So if you can't see this, let me see if I can do it. There's I like to call this the front, back, this shape. Right here, side. Then behind it is side, and then you have the top and bottom. Okay, so if you can picture that, there's the 6 faces. You can see 3. Front, there's the back, right side, there's the left side, top, and then there's the bottom. And they're all rectangles. Let's draw the top and bottom faces. The top is 1 inch by 4.5 inches. When they say draw them, obviously you're going to draw them in 2 dimensions, right? And now let's look at why it's 1 inch by 4.5 inches. Well, the top, 1 inch by 4.5 inches, right? 4.5 is right here, which is parallel to this line segment, and then 1, 1. So it's 1 inch by 4.5 inches. And there's 2 of them, right? Top and bottom. I'm going to put a little T here, knowing that's the top, and a little B, that's the bottom. Okay? Draw the front and back. Okay? The front and back, 2 inches by 1 inch. Let's see why. Okay, let me use a different color here. 2 inches by 1. That's the front. And the back is parallel to it, right? Okay? Front and back. So there's 2 of them, and again, they're rectangles. Let me put a nice little F here. And I'm going to put BA. Alright, for knowing that's back, bottom. Okay? Now let's look at the side faces and label the dimensions. So they will be 2 inches by 4.5 inches. Let's see why. Here's another, again, different color here. Let's go with green. 2 inches by 4.5. That's the right side, and obviously, like we said before, then there's the left side. So I'm going to put right side and left side. There they are. The question is, how could you find the surface area of the block now that we know or drew each rectangle? The top, the bottom, the front, the back, the right, the left. Okay? What do you think you need to do? Well, if you said, obviously, find the area of each one and add them, you are correct. All the areas of the 6 rectangles. Okay, oops, excuse me. Okay, so they did 4.5 plus 4.5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 9 plus 9 equals 31 square inches. How'd they get 4.5? 1 times 4.5, the area here is 4.5. 1 times 4.5, the area here is 4.5 inches squared. Don't forget inches squared. You multiply in 2 units, right? 2 times 1, 2 inches squared. 2 times 1, 2 inches squared, right? And then 2 times 4.5 gives us 9 inches squared. And then 9 inches squared. So now we found the area of each one. Okay, if you're not sure what the area is, remember it's base times height or length times width, and then you add them all and you get 31 square inches. So if that's what you got, excellent job. Let's find out more. The surface area of a 3-dimensional figure is the sum of the areas of all its faces. We just did that. A rectangular prism has 3 pairs of faces that are the same size and shape. For example, front and back, top and bottom, right side, left side. The top and bottom faces have the same area, length times width. The front and back faces have the same area, length times width. Height times width. The left and right side faces have the same area, height times length. To find the surface area of a rectangular prism, add the areas of all 6 faces. Surface area, length times width plus length times width plus height times width plus height times width plus height times length plus height times length, and there they are, the top, bottom, front, back, left side, right side. Okay, and that's why they have this formula as well. 2LW, 2 times length times width, because there's 2 of them. 2 times height times width, because there's 2 of them. And 2 times height times length, because there's 2 of them. Okay, and here's an example where the width, height, and length are. Let's reflect. How can you find the surface area of a cube with edge length 3 inches? Think about that. A cube. What I would do, again, I would pause this video, I would see if I can solve that, and then when you unpause, we will go over the answer. Remember, a cube. What is a cube? What I would do again is I would draw this figure, or draw a cube. Again, how can you find the surface area of a cube with an edge of 3 inches? If you got 54 square inches, you got it correct. Add the areas of each of the 6 faces. All of the faces are 3 inch by 3 inch, and the area of each face is 9. And since there's 6 of them, you do 6 times 9. Let me draw this out for you so we can see this. Here we go. Let's say this is a square and another square. I'm doing my best here. Okay, remember, squares, all the length are the same. Okay? Or cube, excuse me. Same thing with the square. So this is 3 inches by 3 inches by 3 inches. You can even put it here, 3 inches, right? Let me do it to make it easier for you to see. 3 inches. Length, base, and height, right? Or you can say length, width, and height. So each face has 9 inches squared. And since there's 6 of them, 9 times 6 is 54. Again, if you're stuck, pause the video, go back, and recheck it again.